Welcome to the T-Shirt Teacher. Kristen Fruget here, published author, editor, and former high school English teacher. And on today's episode of Pick Your Poison, this is episode 4, part 2. Today we're picking right back up where we left off with Lucy Gray Baird from Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Ophelia from Shakespeare's classic play Hamlet. And those different female main characters of those stories. They're different, but their roles are so important respective to their stories, and their actions and reactions lead to the decisions that must be made by both Hamlet and Coriolanus. In Ballad, we've seen that Lucy Gray Baird makes a grand entrance versus Ophelia in Hamlet, where we find a meek, obedient adult daughter agreeing to consider being wary of Hamlet. The two entrances contrast each other greatly. Lucy comes in clad in a rainbow dress, prepared with a snake and a song, and Ophelia, the daughter of the advisor of the king Polonius, we meet as she is bidding her brother a safe journey back to his studies, as he has done his due diligence in mourning the king and celebrating the marriage of the new king. Ophelia meekly agrees to listen to their advice, and she says in Act 1, Scene 4, line 137, "I shall obey, my lord." She's telling her father, okay, I will stop seeing Hamlet. Very different entrances in these two ladies in the story, but as I said, they're equally important. Hamlet and Coriolanus are a lot alike, so that's an easier comparison, but we'll see how their love interest in these two affect their decision making. Lucy Gray Baird is struck by the mayor after the snake incident, where she puts the snake down the redhead's dress, and she quickly regains her composure and begins performing. On page 27 it says, "Whoever she was, she had been dressed for a performance all along. She had a fine voice, bright and clear on the high notes, husky and rich on the low, and she moved with assurance." On page 28, "Singing transformed her, and Coriolanus no longer found her so disconcerting. There was something exciting, even attractive about her." And then on page 29, we see Coriolanus' classmates. They begin buzzing with excitement, talking about the performance. Then everybody broke out talking, first about the girl, then about who'd been lucky enough to get her. Coriolanus is thrilled with this turn of events. He gave a shake of his head, but inside he was glowing. Snow lands on top. That is from page 29. On page 30, we find that Coriolanus is thinking about his luck. She was a gift, and he knew he must treat her as such. But how best to exploit her show-stopping entrance? How to wrangle success from her dress, a snake, and a song? And we see here, even early on, that Coriolanus is using language in his mind like exploit, gift, and other words that we would consider to be dehumanizing to the tribute. He sees her not as a person, but a ticket to success. Her survival really only matters to him in as much as it helps him achieve his end. Jumping back to Ophelia, we see she is warned several times by her father and brother that Hamlet, while he may have expressed interest, has to consider more than himself. In Act 2, Scene 1, we find Ophelia coming to her father frightened. She has been visited by Hamlet, who has just come from visiting his father, the ghost, and he's quite a sight, what we would call a hot mess today. She tells her father in line 79 through 84, "My lord, as I was sewing in my closet, Lord Hamlet, with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, his stockings fouled, ungartered and down-gyved to his ankle, pale as a shirt, his knees knocking each other, and with a look so piteous in purport, as if he had been loosed out of hell. To speak of horrors, he came before me." Polonius then decides that the cause of Hamlet's madness is for love, and it's probably because Ophelia has rejected his advances, as she's been instructed to do. He suggests they go tell the king. He mentions it's common for the younger sort to lack discretion. Basically, you young people are so dramatic. Let's go fix this. I can just visualize this Polonius as this older man saying that. He's quite upset with himself that he didn't tell the king sooner, but he didn't realize how serious it was getting, it seems. And in Act 2, Scene 2, Polonius agrees that the king needs to see the ambassadors from Norway, which that's an entirely different piece of the puzzle we'll get to later. But anyway, that he needs to see the Norway ambassadors before Polonius tells him his news. From line 45 to 49, Polonius is just sure that he has found the cause to Hamlet's madness. Polonius goes on about how he thinks he knows the nature of Hamlet's madness, and this scene is quite funny because if you've seen The Lion King, the little bird Zazu, he nails Polonius's essence, because The Lion King is just a retelling of Hamlet. And Polonius gives this grand speech, and the queen basically just tells him, say it with less drama. She says, Act 2, Scene 2, the queen says, "More matter with less art." She's basically like Polonius. Get on with it. Tell me what's going on without all the flair. Polonius replies, "Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he's mad, 'tis true, 'tis pity, and pity 'tis true. A foolish figure, but farewell it." for I will use no art. Mad let us grant him, and now he remains, that we might find out the cause of this effect, or rather, the cause of this defect, for this effect defective comes by cause. Thus it remains, the remainder thus perpend. I have a daughter, have while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience mark hath given me this. Now gather and surmise, and he reads the letter. To the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia. That's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase, but you shall hear. He reads, in her excellent white bosom, these, etc. And the queen says, oh, this is what Hamlet sent? And then they began talking with the king and the queen, and the king, afraid Hamlet may still be angry and after his life and his crown, wants to test it and see if Ophelia is actually what's causing Hamlet to act so unhinged. So they make a plan for Polonius to hide behind a curtain, which it's called an arras in the book, but that's a curtain, while Ophelia speaks to Hamlet at a later time. And we'll pick back up with more Coriolanus and Hamlet, and we'll see how that's unfolding. But understanding Lucy and Ophelia's introduction was so important to each plot. We'll see you next time on the T-Shirt Teacher. And today's T-shirt is just a Duck Commander T-shirt, and it's got a duck on the back. And it's actually my husband's T-shirt that my dad got him, but I have never seen my husband wear this shirt, so it's my shirt now. Sorry, Jacob. The T-Shirt Teacher, making formal learning more comfortable. See you next time on the T-Shirt Teacher.